everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday, January 17th, 2016, 2026. I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley with the Texas Storm Chasers, here to give you a live Texas weather forecast. Good morning. It's cold. There's a bit of snow in the Panhandle right now. We're looking at the Texas Storm Chasers radar, interactive radar, on the Texas Storm Chasers webpage. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the Texas Storm Chasers YouTube channel. Good morning to TM Nail, Grams of All Trades, and Sarah and the Stars, our amazing moderator. Good morning. Hope you're staying warm. It's kind of chilly for Texas standards, but really this is just the winter time. This is pretty appropriate for the winter time, right? So glad you're tuning in. We're going to get some Texas weather updates going. All of this activity here, this is the current radar, and it's really, 99% of it is not even reaching the ground. So we have really low dew points, and the dew points being so low means very dry air. Very low relative humidity values, so when that precipitation falls from the clouds, it actually diffuses into the very dry air. So, it gets lost in the sauce on the way down. And really, we have some flurries and light snow in the Panhandle, just giving some people a trace amount of snow. I don't think we're going to see much more than that. Very low chance that there's an inch of snow somewhere in this band, but yeah, it's a little colder up in the Panhandle at the surface. It's still dry, but some of these snow showers are a little bit heavier, and that'll allow some of that to actually reach the ground. So we do have some ground reports north of Amarillo, over to Panhandle, Pampa, some flurries and a light dusting on the ground. So, hey, that's all we can really say as far as winter goes this time of year. We should have been talking about some actual decent snow events by this time, but no, not in 2026. We don't really see much in the way of the winter weather department for the rest of the month. Still a little bit too early to know for sure, but the outlook is actually not very good for snow for the rest of January. So we'll see if that changes, and things will change. But yeah, right now we're just chilling. The cold front came through yesterday. It's all the way down. It's made it through Texas, so all the temperatures will be colder today than they were yesterday. And we're in for a cold night tonight and cold morning tomorrow. We have actually some freeze warnings in effect in south central Texas. Take a look at that. Here are the current warnings, watches, and advisories from the National Weather Service. And we have a large red flag warning. We have 8 counties in a freeze warning. We also have a freeze watch. So we'll go ahead and take a look. Some of this is overlapping. Freeze warning, red flag warning, which red flag warning means, hey, don't cause a fire. Freeze warning means we're going to have the first freeze of the cold season here. Looks like Bear County over to, I think that's not Webb County. No, I don't know what county that is. I'll be honest. I'm not quite there yet. Let's take a look at this. So, fire danger today. We're looking at very high fire danger, and that's the very dry air, windy. We're going to have some pretty good gusts today. So that's going to combine for easily spreadable fires if anything starts. And, obviously, most of the time we don't see anything start, and that's a blessing. But, we don't want anything to start. If things start, we have a recipe for easily spreadable fires. So yeah, we just don't want that to happen. So yeah, don't burn. We're We're not going to cause a fire, right? This is a red flag warning here across much of central Texas, south central Texas, south Texas, the Coastal Bend, Victoria Crossroads. Yeah, just be very vigilant. We have some gusts up to 30 miles per hour and very low relative humidities. Well, 12% relative humidity value. That is pretty dry. We have dry to critically dry fuels, dormant vegetation, some dead stuff. We've had drought, obviously. The drought monitor pretty much gets the whole state of Texas in some sort of drought. In fact, while I pull that up now, we can look at that. We can look at the drought monitor. David put together the drought monitor when it came out on Thursday, but most of the state of Texas is in drought. So we have percentages here. At least 91% of the state is under some form of drought. So we have, slight drought in the yellow area. Let me zoom in on Texas here. Slight drought in the yellow areas. And then we get more severe drought in the orange areas. And then we start talking extreme drought in the red areas, which pretty much the whole area that's under a red flag warning today, including Bexar County, up to Travis Williamson County. Yeah, that laundry is going to be real staticky with that dry air. Just think about, combustible fuels out there in the fields. That's kind of the same thing. Any sort of static shock, and when folks are driving and dragging chains, etc. That's how fires get started. So we actually have exceptional drought in the Big Bend, down in the Big Bend. So overall, this is worsening. It could always be worse, but this is getting real dry, real intense drought. Despite having all the extreme rainfall events in July, things really start flash droughting pretty quick after weeks of nothing. And we're still talking about pretty much nothing, unfortunately, in the way of precipitation. Nothing very meaningful for this area in particular. Now, we will be talking about some rain chances in Texas, but unfortunately, it's not going to favor this very dry area. So, as I mentioned before, critical fire weather today. That's where the red flag warning is in effect. We have a freeze warning Sunday. This is tomorrow morning. From 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sunday morning, we're going to be looking at the first widespread freeze of the winter season. Better late than never, I guess. I don't know. Atascosa, Bexar, Dimmitt, Frio, Karnes, Maverick, Wilson, and Zavala counties. Lows from 26 to 32 Fahrenheit. So, folks that are not quite used to the cold weather, get ready. It's coming. Tomorrow morning, we'll be waking up in the 20s and low 30s. That temperature map looks pretty darn chilly in the morning. We'll look at that here later. Down farther south, we do have a freeze watch. That freeze watch is going to be late tonight into tomorrow morning. Zapata, Jim Hogg, Brooks, and inland Kennedy counties. So, a lot of South Texas will be very near freezing, potentially, tomorrow morning. So, yeah. Hey, we got a small craft advisory pretty much along the whole Texas Gulf Coast, and that is because we have pretty gusty winds here. These are the wind gust values, or wind values. So wind values over 30 miles per hour, pretty well offshore, inshore. Yeah, there's some wind there. There's going to be some pretty good waves chop on the Gulf Coast, so there's a small craft advisory. And what else do we got? I think that's really it as far as watches, warnings, and advisories go. pretty much nationally, we don't have anything major going on. Blizzard warning up here on the Dakota, Minnesota line. Yeah, that's too bad for them. Looks like we have a winter weather advisory in Georgia. They're looking at trace to an inch of snow, central Georgia. Cold weather advisory in northern Florida, where they woke up pretty cold today, I think. Yeah, nationally, nothing extreme. We've got wind, we've got fire danger, we've got some snow, sometimes blizzard up in the Midwest, Northeast. It's not quiet, but it's not extremely like OMG, avoid, evacuate kind of situation. So back to Texas, we really have just fire danger to talk about. Of course, it's colder than we've seen in several weeks, but it's really par for course. We're supposed to be, we're just a bit below normal today. Temperatures should be like in the mid upper 50s this time of year in DFW on average. We're looking at mid to upper 40s for highs. So, yeah, we're below average, but it's really the first time in generally weeks that we had below average temperatures. So this is just what winter's supposed to do, right? Yeah, overall, it's looking pretty nasty for fire danger. High to very high, even extreme fire danger, guys. Yeah, no bueno. This is pretty much along and east of I-35. It does include parts of like hill country, but Central Texas, South Central Texas. Then we really get things worse there. Again, that kind of overlaps with that severe drought to extreme drought area we looked at, and that's Austin, east of San Antonio, like Seguin, and down to Victoria, Coastal Bend. Particularly extreme fire danger. Here we are looking at Coastal Bend, the Middle Coast, Matagorda, Rockport, Port A. Yeah, that's no bueno. That's not good. So, yeah, we're not going to be burning today here in this area. Again, we have those winds. You could go back to the wind map here. And, we're not looking at hurricane force winds or anything. We have some gusty 25 to 35 mile per hour winds with some higher gusts up in the Panhandle, Texoma, and then we have some decent sustained winds, in the 10 to 20 mile per hour range, some gusts to 30 here, Brazos Valley, Central Texas, and the Victoria Crossroads, and then along the Gulf Coast is really we have some good wind coming along those coastal plains and right along the Gulf Shore. So yeah, again, those relative humidity values, we'll look at that now. Because it's so dry and it's, breezy, gusty at times, that's why we have the extreme fire danger in spots. So tomorrow, a little better, but really don't consider it too much better. We still have high to very high fire danger. San Antonio to Houston to Livingston, along the Gulf Coast. Again, Matagorda down to Rockport. So things are still looking a bit dangerous on the fire side tomorrow, Sunday, January 18th, Monday. Well, relaxing a little bit Monday, but still moderate to high fire danger across the southeastern 2/3 of the state. So, fire danger. Let's look at precipitation, which there's not much. Again, we had just some flurries going on in the Panhandle, light snow. Most of that's really not reaching the ground, but we go on through the play out of the high-res rapid refresh model here. And we were thinking that we could sneak some rain, maybe even a brief winter mix tomorrow morning. A few days ago, it looked like southeast Texas was going to be, just have a glancing blow with some of this rain and changing over to mix. Now it's really looking dry. The colder air here seeps down into Texas, but we stay pretty dry. It's maybe a sprinkler or two today before things just this whole system just moves on east, and things don't really materialize until tomorrow morning, but that's way east. So things have been more progressive over the past couple of days with this system. A few days ago, the models were showing this whole system out here a little bit closer to Texas, which is why we had some very small percentage chance of actually seeing a little bit of winter mix in the piney woods. But no, that's 0% now, albeit cold but dry. So we have nothing going on. No rain, no snow, besides what's going on now. Very light stuff in the panhandle. Again, and there's really none of this is reaching the ground in North Texas. Even though it's showing up on the radar returns, none of that's showing up at the ground. So radar sees it, but you don't. That means it's snowing aloft, but it evaporates before it can reach the ground. Yeah, we're dry. We looked at relative humidity and wind. The next couple of days we have periods of a little gusty wind. Gusty winds to the north and then to the south. Some decent sustained winds across the center third of Texas here. Deep in the heart of Texas. And then things relax overnight. The boundary layer decouples. And then we get a little gusty again tomorrow, Sunday afternoon. Some gust back. Winds up to 10 to 20 miles per hour. Some gusts probably try to get 25, maybe 30 miles per hour. This is northwest Texas, big country. Far north Texas, Texoma, over to the Permian Basin. Nothing extreme, but somewhat of a breezy, windy day tomorrow afternoon. Doesn't last long. So, yeah, we're not quite on the tranquil side necessarily as far as wind is concerned. So that's why we've got a few days with fire danger pretty much lock. Again, with those very low relative humidity values, that's just a recipe for spreadable fires. Sarah always sees chains dragging or tie downs dragging. Yeah, we can't be doing that. Spread the word. There's a fire, red flag warning. We don't want to be responsible for any sparks on those dormant fuels out there. Very dry vegetation. Now, we were hinting at some precipitation in Texas here. From the Weather Prediction Center is the 7-day rainfall. This is going to change. This is a forecast based off of things that are days away from happening, and where they happen, when they happen, if they happen at all. Still a question mark over the next few days. Think we'll refine those details, but it looks like we will have a formidable chance to see some rain. Southeast Texas, East Texas, Gulf Coast. Now, again, we thought that there could be some rain down in like the Golden Triangle tomorrow morning, maybe even winter mix, and that is no longer in the cards. So is the same thing going to happen? Well, we'll see, because this is the 1 to 7 day forecast, but this system looks like it's going to be Wednesday. Let's look at, this is the Euro model. Looks like, again, same thing as the high-res rapid refresh model. We're dry. Other than a little bit of the snow flurries up in the panhandle, yeah, we're dry. But what we see develop here Wednesday, it's really, as soon as we get to Wednesday morning, 6 a.m., we see some sporadic showers forming Again, this is quite a ways out, guys, so don't lock it in. This is at the really at the end of our comfortable forecasting range. When you get 5 days out, like, all right, well, certainly some potential there, but this could easily also bust. So since we have nothing else to talk about, we look ahead toward Wednesday, the chance for some rain popping up basically eastern third of Texas, I-35 and eastward. And it wants to give a good dose of rain to, the southeast Texas, upper coast, Golden Triangle, Bolivar Peninsula, up into the Piney Woods. Will that happen? I can't guarantee that. Don't place all of your bets on that happening, but that's our next chance of rain. So if that were to happen, hey, we might be able to talk about some folks getting an inch of rain out there. But we're not really going to see any of that where our real drought is, our real drought again. We're in some moderate to severe drought, don't get me wrong, but our extreme drought here in central Texas, south central Texas, looks like it's going to be sticking around and intensifying because we really don't see anything else going on. Again, there's really no more chances of seeing snow for the rest of the month that I can tell. Of course, that's a 2-week outlook, and that's dangerous to really place any bets on. But I'm seeing some colder air intrusions trying to come back in, but yeah, I mean, we're looking super duper long range, and generally speaking, the signal is on the drier side, except for Wednesday, if that can even manifest. All right, let's take a look at this. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly. Hi there. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly, and this shows kind of the pattern we're in. It's, we got a big trough. That's the reason why we're cooling down today. Pretty active. No extreme scenarios here, but colder. Out west, warmer. I gotta sneeze. All right. Obviously, that cedar will not leave me alone. But yeah, that's the current situation. These 500 millibar heights, showing a low side right now. Pretty intense. Those temperatures right now are frigid. We're looking up in the Midwest, North Dakota, Minnesota, with highs in the single digits. If that, wow. Actually, it looks like, of course, I'm looking up at Minnesota. I mean, they're natives. Ugh. So yeah, very cold air up there. Again, that's reflected here in the height anomaly. So when you look at the 500 millibar layer, when it sinks down, it's because the air is so cold and dense, it kind of compresses down near the surface. Very dense air, all that cold air sinks, right? So that means when you're looking at the density of the atmosphere, all the density of the atmosphere when it gets cold settles closer to the surface. So when we look at these 500 millibar height anomalies, we're looking at, kind of where the cold air and the warm air are. It's pretty basic. When you get very cold air, the level where you reach 500 millibars is a lot lower off the ground. When you get a big warm ridge, that 500 millibar level is going to be much higher off the ground because warm air is less dense. It spreads out. It fills that volume, pushes that 500 millibar layer upward. And then when you have kind of a a ridge trough pattern, we talked about this, you generally get the jet stream coming in from Canada and coming right down the Rockies or just east of the Rockies and then swinging out uh, like right overhead. But we're too dry for any precipitation here, so that's why our cold front came through dry. So in a nutshell, uh, pretty boring, pretty quiet stuff for Texas when you get a ridge trough pattern like this. Now, when you get the reverse, when you get a trough ridge pattern, things really start lighting up for Texas. That provides some forcing that pretty much aids in lift and precipitation, rain, snow, storms, whatever for Texas. But right now, we're more in a ridge trough pattern, which means the general brunt of the activity is going to be north and east of us. No problem, Greg. Thank you for joining us today. We're looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly. We're going to play it through, going to just see the pattern. And so we get like an upper level low here, kind of meandering this weekend. It's going to provide some lift over the southeast, which is why there's actually a chance for snow in southern Georgia. Some rain across the Gulf and into the Florida Panhandle. Could even see some flurries in the northern Florida Panhandle too. But the ridge to trough pattern really just sticks around, so that really aids in already warming temperatures in Texas and quiet weather. Let's look at Wednesday. So once we get into Wednesday, remember we had that chance for some rain in eastern Texas. So what's going on with that? We see a bit of a short wave here, a couple short waves forming here on the very tight height lines of equal height here. This means that the jet stream's getting pretty strong there. We actually have some disturbances that look like they're going to be forming here in the northern Rockies. And so we just try to kick off a little bit of something here on Wednesday. You can kind of see there's a trough there. If we come through Wednesday, there might be enough to kick off some rain, maybe even storms on Wednesday. But now we're looking ahead. Now there's a change. Of course, this is next weekend, so the whole thermodynamics of it all is pretty interesting to see. You see, the ridge to the west, troughing to the east. Now, if this is a week out, so who knows what's going to really happen, but it's a signal that next weekend we actually try to get a really strong trough going here in the Pacific Northwest. So that could aid in a little bit of a cool down next weekend. But it doesn't really dig that far south, so goodness. Yeah, wow. Well, yeah, once we get super far ahead, it's just fantasy land maps and not even worth really looking at. So let's look at the jet stream. This is also at 500 millibars. Again, so we have ridging to the west, troughing to the northeast. The jet stream just likes to go in between that, the ridge and the trough, so to speak. So strong winds curving the base of the trough. Now we have some 500 millibar winds, but it was so dry at the surface, that's why we really could not kick off any precipitation. Besides some flurries in the Panhandle, the surface is so dry, not conducive for convection. Now things get a little bit tight tomorrow. This pretty strong upper level front. And that is why we have rain and some snow even popping up this far south. We have a pretty sharp trough upper level front coming through. And that's going to be enough, should be enough to kick off some rain and even snow here in the southeast. Yeah, I mean, other than that, we don't have a whole lot going on until sometime Wednesday. We have just a very slight disturbance glancing to the north of Texas. When that trough axis comes through Wednesday, late Wednesday, it's going to potentially provide enough lift to see some sort of precipitation in East Texas. Now, that is only if that actually comes into fruition. But yeah, just a little bit of a wave comes in. This is, call it like an upper level front or a bit of a short wave trough. Just glances to the north of Texas. So it's not very strong for the state necessarily, but we will see some forcing effects from that shortwave trough, and that could provide enough lift for rain and storms on Wednesday. And then we're back to relatively dry conditions. Northwest flow to the north. Not much flow here in the state. And beyond that is just a fool's guessing game. So those are the dynamics at play. Yep. Mother Nature going to do what Mother Nature want to do. Let's look at temperatures. The temperatures are going to be pretty cool, but nothing crazy cold today. 40s, northern half of Texas. That's cool, but not crazy cold. So that's good. I don't think many people want crazy cold. So we keep going with the winter without at least seeing crazy cold. That's probably a good thing. 30s for highs in the Panhandle with some light flurries in the morning. Dusting here and there of snow. Things will dry out quick. Mid 40s in DFW. Low 50s to mid 50s Central Texas. South Texas, 60s. So those temperatures, let's see. Let me just check. I'm going to check with the high resolution rapid refresh model and go through here. Yeah, I mean, it's not even that cold of a day down here. 60s in South Texas. Near 60 in San Antonio. That's not even... It's a cold front, but, that is not crazy cold. So it's really cool for sure in the Panhandle, like 30s for highs. Yeah, it's still pretty appropriate for wintertime. Looking at tomorrow morning, this is kind of where the strength of this cold front really shows its face. We really clear out. Clouds will clear out overnight. I think most of the state probably won't have a single cloud in the sky tonight. Let me double check that. Cloud cover. Yeah, because it looks like we efficiently cool down tonight. So, yeah, we have some cloud cover today. Yep. Oh, yeah. Over midnight, the high-resolution rapid refresh model, we are just so dry. All levels of the atmosphere just dry out. Everything it's wrung out. So, clouds are gone. We drop those temperatures like a rock. Again, here's the low temperatures. These aren't wind chills. These are just the actual air temperatures. 19 here. What county is that? San Saba County, I think. I get better at counties. Don't worry. So yeah, I mean it might drop below 20 in parts of hill country. You can tell where there's urban heat island effect. DFW, Austin, San Antonio, like not quite dropping like a rock, but still below freezing. But yeah, I mean it could be down to the upper teens in parts of the hill country, low 20s, Edwards Plateau, teens in the Panhandle. Could be we're forecasting low teens, 13 up in Spearman. Is that Spearman or Perryton? Geography. That would be Perryton. 13 in Perryton. Yeah, Spearman's like over here. I think I got a sneeze again. It wouldn't be a live show in the state of Texas in wintertime without some cedar fever. Sneeze attacks. But that's what the mute button's for. Yeah, teens in the Panhandle, low 20s, Amarillo, Lubbock, low 20s around the outer fringes of DFW, low 20s, 20, could even see some upper teens in Texoma, East Texas. So yeah, tomorrow morning it's going to be cold. All the blue shading here is indicating freezing temperatures. Yeah, West Texas, the mountains, Guadalupe's, Davis Mountains, looking at low 20s to upper teens as well up in there. So yeah, this is really the heart of the colder air mass. That's why we had a chance for, like we were talking about, 1 to 4% chance of some mixed precipitation tomorrow morning out here in southeast Texas. But since it's looking dry, that's not the case anymore. But yeah, cold. Hey, tomorrow we warm back up. It's going to be back in the mid 60s here in northwest Texas, in the Caprock Canyons. Low to mid 60s, big country. Close to 60, Permian Basin, 60 or so, North Texas. Low 60s, Central Texas, hill country. A lot of the state gets back in the 60s tomorrow afternoon. So, be saying what cold air? It's going to be right back up. And again, that's that prevailing pattern. The ridging persisting to the west means we don't really see the coldest air by any stretch of the imagination. Tomorrow morning is going to be the coldest morning of the year. 20s, it's not like end of the world cold. We'll look at Monday morning. It's going to be another cold one Monday morning. MLK Day, so no school, but work for some folks, not all folks. Still, cold start Monday. Monday afternoon. Oh, we are so up and down, up and down. This is crazy. Only 40s in the Panhandle on Monday. Oh, that's crazy. Let's look at this. Yeah, I mean, it's a cold day today. We just warm up so efficiently tomorrow. But then that's not the case on Monday. I'm interested in looking more into this. Let's look at the North American model. Like, what are we doing? 40s in the Panhandle today, mid 60s in the Panhandle tomorrow, and then back in the 40s tomorrow. Say, mid 30s in the Panhandle today, mid 60s tomorrow, and then again back into the 40s on Monday. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty mild tomorrow. Wow. And then Monday, 30s. Wow, this is actually showing 30s. This model isn't the best for temperatures, but wow. Do we have another cold? We must have another front that comes in. Let's see. So we have westerlies tomorrow. That must be like a Chinook effect. Wow, okay. Okay, cold front slides through again tomorrow. Tomorrow night. So that explains why Monday's gusty again, because cold front, number 4 of the last 10 days, comes through. Okay. Well, it's coming through dry, so it's not showing up on, simulator reflectivity or anything, but another cold front tomorrow night. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, again, yeah, Saturday, today, 30s in the panhandle. Tomorrow, 50s and 60s in the panhandle. And then back into the 40s, maybe even 30s on Monday. So, yesterday, we had crash. Temperatures crash. Today's cold. Tomorrow warm. And then back to cold on Monday. Just crazy stuff. So, yeah, the cold front comes through. The northern third of Texas or so be in the 40s on Monday. 50s south of I-20. Down in the 60s and 70s. South Texas will jump into the 70s on Monday. But, yeah, that's interesting. Tuesday morning, chilly one. Northern half of the state, below freezing. So, some cold mornings. But we warm up efficiently some of these days, like tomorrow. It's like rinse and repeat. Here's Tuesday, we go back up into the upper 50s. Amarillo, Silverton, Texas, up here in the Panhandle. 50s for many folks across the state. 60s, Houston, Seguin, LaGrange, down to Victoria. Close to 70, low 70s in the Rio Grande Valley. So, I mean, it's really just up and down, up and down, up and down. What does Wednesday have in store? Well, we could be looking at some rain-cooled effects here in eastern Texas if that comes to fruition. Again, don't put all your money down on those bets because it's still 5 days out. Things could change. But if we do have precipitation, we'll have some rain-cooled effects here in eastern Texas. But everybody else, back into the 60s Wednesday, 67 in Abilene, 65 in Midland, Odessa, Big Spring. 40s and 50s in the Panhandle, a little bit cooler. Down in the 70s to low 80s in the Rio Grande Valley. So, winter, where are you? Cold morning Thursday, down in the teens of the Panhandle. So, yeah, really overall, things are just, they try to get cold, but it does not sustain. So, let's look at one more thing. 6 to 10 day outlook. What is the latest 6 to 10 day outlook? Gotta say here. I don't want that. I want that. I don't want that. What's low tonight and tomorrow night? Is winter not concerned with highs? Yeah, we looked at the lows tonight. In case you missed it, I can go back to that. Here we go. Yeah, overall, next 6 to 10 days, we try to get some colder air to dig into Texas, and it's like a pattern that does not want to fully commit to changing. Some cold air tries to dig into the far northern part of Texas, but the prevailing ridge, warmer temperatures out west, really filter in to most of the state, really equating to warmer than average temperatures across, generally speaking, and drier conditions as well. Front porch, Texas. Those temperatures are going to be cold tomorrow morning. Here's the lows tonight, tomorrow morning. Most everybody's going to see a freeze. It's going to be pretty close to the Gulf Coast here with the freezing temperatures. So cold night tonight, tomorrow morning. Clouds go away. We drop those temperatures pretty efficiently. So yeah, it'll be a cold one tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. And then tomorrow night, not quite as cold, but still, more than half of the state will get very near freezing or down in the 20s. So yeah, overall colder than what we've been seeing. Again, tomorrow morning is really going to be the heart of this colder air mass, with teens in the panhandle, 20s for almost everybody else. Only some places hanging on to the 30s, pretty close to the Gulf Coast. So that's that. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy on the hot side, nothing crazy on the cold side. Not much precipitation to talk about at all. Drought is going to be worsening. Fire danger, we're going to be flipping that on pretty high today. So fire danger is going to be really the main story, and hopefully nothing starts. But unfortunately, if anything happens to start, the conditions are favorable for easily spreadable wildfires. So got to be very vigilant about that. We have a red flag warning across a large part of the state. Central Texas, South Central Texas, Edwards Plateau, Hill Country, Victoria Crossroads, and parts of South Texas. So that is the big story, guys. Thanks for popping on in here for a live Texas weather forecast. Coffee with Cooley. Got my coffee. Forgot about it. But starting to kind of get a stride here with these morning forecast videos that I do on Saturday. Tomorrow, Trey Greenwood is going to be taking a day off to travel. So David Reimer will probably be providing a Texas weather roundup sometime tomorrow to fill in that hole. But yeah, Monday through Friday, you're going to have David Reimer's Texas weather roundup. Saturday mornings, David takes off and I do these forecast videos live in vertical form, mobile-friendly form. Trying to reach new people and stuff like that. Make sure you subscribe to Texas Storm Chasers YouTube channel. And that's where you can find our forecast videos, live weather coverage when we have events, storm chasing videos, and more. So thank you all for joining me. And Grams of all trades, I appreciate you being here. As always, Sarah and the Stars, our amazing moderator, coming in. As always, awesome. Love seeing you, and we'll see you again soon, guys. Y'all have a wonderful, nice weekend. Stay warm. It's going to be a cold one tonight, tomorrow morning. Y'all take care. God bless.